with the local council, public-private partnership, but master planned, and that's what we need more of in Auckland, not this.
The Honourable Ruth Dyson.
Mr Speaker, there's been a bit of a theme running through the National Party over recent times, and that's the theme of they know everything and everybody else is wrong. That's exactly what the scrambled thinking of the Minister, the Honourable Nick Smith, and the total lack of leadership of the Prime Minister, the Right Honourable Bill English, is demonstrated in this legislation. This legislation is being used as an opportunity to reduce public input into decisions that have a major impact on the amenities and the environment in which we live, and the Auckland housing crisis is being used as the excuse. Very hard to justify, given that the Minister consistently denies there is a housing crisis in Auckland, let alone spreading throughout the rest of the country, but there clearly is. But for him to then say, and because of this housing crisis, which doesn't exist, we're going to gut the RMA even further. I remember when the resource management legislation was introduced into New Zealand. For the first time, we had a change from the old town planning regime of rules and regulations, and we moved to an effects-based piece of legislation. It was a big challenge. But people who were interested in looking not just at rules, but of impacts of development, of the way that our cities, our rural towns could be more friendly to families and their citizens, and the way that we could develop our infrastructure in a respectful manner to the environment. Those are tensions that are hard to meet, and the Resource Management Act sought to do that. The whole of Parliament agreed on that legislation. Of course, there were only, at that stage, 2 political parties here. It was before the start of MMP. But it was supported by the whole of Parliament, and in my view, something as important as the rules around developments that have an impact on our life should be supported by the overwhelming majority of Parliament, if not by the whole of it, instead of this bill, which is going to just squeak through on what I think has been a pretty shabby deal done. And I say that with respect to the Māori Party. I don't agree with the deal that is being done having more merit than the damage that is being done by the rest of the legislation. The Resource Management Acts introduced, Amendment Acts introduced by the government since 2008 have just continually reduced the opportunity for ordinary citizens and communities to have a say into what is happening in their area. In Christchurch, the combination of the 2009 Resource Management Amendment combined with the central government imposition of a truncated and restricted input, let alone appeal, district plan changes, have caused communities to feel disempowered and feel tricked. And they have been by this government. They have been. We no longer have the valid say into developments in our area than we used to. This is bad for local democracy. It's bad for empowerment of citizens. Anyone in this Parliament, I am sure, would sit around a table with the relevant ministers and say, what are the problems with the Resource Management Act and how can we work together to sensibly fix them? But that's not what the minister does. The minister, who knows everything, sits in his ivory tower, totally ignoring all the contributions to this. These aren't fringe groups here. We had Local Government New Zealand, we had regional and district councils, we had Fonterra, we had Fulton Hogan, we had airport owners, we had the New Zealand Law Society, the Environmental Defence Society, Forest and Bird, Fish and Game. It's a pretty broad range of submitters, and they all oppose the legislation. But the minister would say, from his ivory tower, I know best, they are all wrong. Well, Minister, I don't agree with that. I think that in this Parliament we should listen to submitters, particularly when a broad range such as that I've just outlined come in and say, this is a bad bill. And that's what they all said, this is a bad bill. We could improve the Resource Management Act in a way that all New Zealanders would benefit from. But cutting citizens' voices out of democratic processes And blaming the Auckland housing crisis is not the way to do it. It does demonstrate a scrambled way of thinking from the Minister and a total lack of leadership from the Prime Minister. We need more solutions working together, not this.
I call Joe Hayes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And